Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. To make sure we don't become negative Nancy's, we have made this a drinking game where anytime we say something negative about the film, we drink, people. We hear this sound. Dave, I'm clipping my microphone so good. I hope my audience...
No, it's fine. It's coming through just fine. Don't worry about it.
I hope the audience understands our excitement for talking about this Nicolas Cage film. But yeah, it is a positive film criticism podcast. That means we are here to pump this movie up and give you a good time, people. That's our game.
So if you haven't already, while Jeff was waffling, pour yourself a glass and let's grab a hold of Willy.
Well, what, Dave? Okay, hold on. I know you're from Australia, but you just said Jeff was waffling and grab your Willy, and we're a minute into this podcast. All right, so if you're joining us for the first time,
that should be a clear sign
thanks
of
for
how
coming.
this is
We'll
going to
see
go.
us. I hope we see you again.
For anyone who doesn't follow our podcast, we record 2 episodes at once, so we're already drunk.
Our Space Jam was pretty tame, and then the
we
beer
just
hit.
kept drinking.
We just talked about Space Jam: A New Legacy, starring LeBron James.
Who?
Yeah. So the greatest basketball player of all time, number 1. Is it?
Yeah, sure. There's a good argument for
top
that.
5, 2.
Yeah.
John, shout our people out.
You know what? We have some sponsors. We have a beer sponsor, and his name is Carlos Barroso. If you want to give him a follow on Instagram, head on over to C Barroso Bar 2019. That's CBARROZOBAR 2019. And if you're digging the music at the beginning, middle, and end of this podcast, it is provided by the artist Dasein, and you can head over to soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist and download all the music for free. So please do that and like us, love us, share us. We're on the socials at The Love of Cinema Pod. Except for Twitter, we're just at The Love of Cinema. Come at us. Tell us what we should be talking about. We love movies. We do all these different segments. Give us some input. Suggest some things. We'll get back to you. Jeff, let's fucking talk about Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland, apparently originally titled Wally's Wonderland, is a movie starring Nicolas Cage that is streaming on Hulu. And what else do you need, people? Now, I know there's a lot of Nic Cage movies out there, all right? I know there's a lot of Nic Cage movies that you could choose from. And I know every time you start a Nicolas Cage movie that was made after the year, let's say 2010, your first question is, how are Nicolas Cage's financials? How is he doing?
Oh, I know.
And I'm gonna tell you, people, we still don't know, but I do know one thing: this man does not like memorizing lines, but that's okay. That is something we'll get to later.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering did they get a discount because he didn't have to memorize any lines.
Is that why? Okay, because
I don't know. Was that the case? Was that a thing?
You're speaking to the 5.5. I'm sorry. This is part of the Nicolas Cage story at this point. We've heard the rumors about him buying islands and castles and going into debt. I don't know if any of them are true, to be honest with you. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say they're not, because his financial manager he or she would never work again. Because those National Treasure movies, at least by the third one, you have to say, Nick, I swear on my life, you're not touching a cent of this fucking movie. I'm not letting you. I'm putting it into investments. Anyway, this is a $5.5 million budget. The script, as Dave was probably alluding to, he was alluding to the budget, but the script is on what's called the Blood List, which is a list of highly anticipated genre scripts. Blood, so slasher films, horror movies. Horror movies are profitable in Hollywood, and they usually can be made for a very low budget, so there's a low risk. So you look at, I'm sure John loves talking about Jason Blum and Blumhouse. Blum worked for Miramax, and then he was like, screw it, The Purge, Paranormal Activity, and now he's a 100 millionaire. So this movie was one of those, and essentially all you really need is one well-connected person. In this case, it was Nicolas Cage who co-produced it, which is a fancy way of saying, I get money if this makes money. Co-produced means my name is on this. I'll call some friends, but if this makes $100 million, half of that is mine. Thank you so much. And that's where we're at. This is not well reviewed. This is not a well-reviewed movie. 5.5 Metacritic, 44. 4.4, sorry, on IMDb. I'm gonna start over.
What's the audience score?
71% on Rotten Tomatoes. So there you go. This is perfectly fine. All right, I'm getting into the preamble a little early. So let me just give you the
Give him the plot. Give him the plot.
I'm really excited about the plot. Again, this is streaming on Hulu for free. It's only I think it's less than 90 minutes. So people just watch this movie watch it with a friend. Like, be social. It's expensive out there. One thing I learned from the pandemic is it's so much cheaper to be at home.
Oh yeah.
It's so much cheaper to stay at home. But have a friend over, get some beers, say there's a 90-minute Nicolas Cage movie that I promise you we will never forget if we watch this. Here is the plot. A quiet drifter, guess who that is tricked into a janitorial job. I'm going to stop there. A quiet drifter is tricked into a janitorial job.
I mean, we've all been there.
If that's a guys, I'm gonna say this before I finish this.
So far, synopsis. It's a Steinbeck novel. I don't know. This is pretty good. Yeah.
You know what's funny? What's funny is I have a Steinbeck joke written into my notes that we'll get to soon. So
nice.
I have a seriously, there's a Steinbeck joke written in my notes.
Locked and loaded, ready.
Here's what I'm gonna say. These are the kind of movies that I'm like, this is why we need a podcast for sure. Because I'd never heard of this movie. This is on Hulu. It stars Nicolas Cage. There's a lot of movies that star Nicolas Cage. It's 98 minutes. It knows exactly what it is. And what the like? Prop this shit up. How good is that premise?
Oh no,
a quiet drifter.
Keep going.
Finish it.
Keep going.
Finish that.
So Nicolas Cage is tricked into a janitorial job that requires a lot of shirt changes.
Yeah, you have it.
At the now condemned Willy's Wonderland, formerly Wally's Wonderland, the mundane tasks suddenly become an all-out fight for survival against wave after wave of demonic animatronics. Fists fly, kicks land, Titans clash. And if you didn't already assume this was the same thing as a game of tug of war, only one side will make it out alive. That's right. Nicolas Cage fights animatronic stuffed animals.
Demonic animatronics sounds like a lyric from Rocky Horror Show, I swear.
It's in there somewhere.
There's definitely a lot.
Look,
this stars Nicolas Cage and a whole lot of attractive co-eds who are very young.
Yeah, this tiny sleepy town is a sexy town. Like most of the people in this town at the teenage age are they're good-looking human beings for no reason at all.
Headshots.
They're all very diverse. They are all very up to date on how you dress. This is every single ridiculous genre trope that you were looking for exists in this movie.
John and I just spent a weekend in the middle of nowhere in a town that had nobody in it. And I promise you, they were wearing flannel with Confederate flags. They were not dressed the way that these people were dressed, that were like ready to kick some ass. I mean, honestly, the reason that I thought it would come to me. What's that like somewhat horror? Castle on the Hill. What's that?
House on the Hill. House.
No.
The Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods. Like this is right up Cabin in the Woods' alley.
Yeah, I think. Okay. Go for it, Dave. What do you think, dude? Dave is the one who told us about this. We're always like trying to recommend what should we do next week.
I suggested this basically so that these guys knew to never let me suggest a movie unchallenged again.
Dave. I'm telling you, Dave. I'm telling you right now.
This was fun.
This is the perfect suggestion. These are the kinds of movies that we need to be covering. This is it. A lot of people are covering Space Jam, which we just covered, but this movie needs some attention, and they need people drinking while they're talking about it.
If you love horror films, like if you're a horror buff, you like a lot of horror buffs are also Nicolas Cage buffs, especially after Mandy. You are gonna enjoy at least, I would say, 80% of this film. It gets a little bit slow at times, but like all is there. Like everything that you want is there.
Can I throw the caveat in that if you don't love horror films, but people keep talking about horror films, and you're like, I don't love horror films, watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because this is the perfect like compromise as well. So if you love horror movies, and if you don't know if you love horror movies, this is right in the sweet spot for you.
I will give them props that like when the first animatronic cuts loose, I looked up how this was done. because I was like, well, that looked like that was actually like the first one, the ostrich is really fucking good.
Was that an ostrich?
It was an ostrich. Yes.
So I did want to. I think my only, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think my only real critique was that I think they may have overused some of the CG, just because my favorite moments were when they were clearly just framing it in such a way and cheating, so that Nicholas was just like hitting like a doll.
No, none of that was CG. The ostrich was practical. That was made by a special effects technician with a history of puppetry.
The way it moved so smooth and quickly, like, and the way she moved really fast.
That was a stunt performer in a costume, and like obviously they sped some of that up, but like that, a lot of that wasn't CG. There's only a couple of bits that were CG. Like they had to paint out the reason. Like when I say it was an animatronic puppet, like it was a puppet with animatronic parts, but there were guys in green suits operating that thing on camera that they then painted out. But like, I
found that hard to believe, because I feel like it was clear when it looked like that, and there were times when they moved and they looked like, oh, they're moving with CG now.
That was 100%. Like that first one was, like they painted the operators out, but that was practical.
Wow, she moves so fast against him. Wow, I don't know if I believe you. I want to believe you, but I don't know if I believe you. But this is.
I mean, I'm just quoting all the research I did, so you know.
I think that this is this movie. If anyone liked Mandy, this is like the opposite of that.
I just the Barry Manilow song stuck in my head. What is this movie?
Mandy is a horror film from like 2015, I think, and Nicolas Cage is in it, and it's a serious horror film. It is like a trippy, strange horror film. It still comes down to like a big bloodbath fight with him and these killers, but it's presented sincerely, unlike this, which is like, and you should be clear, I agree with you, you're saying, like, give this horror movie a shot, but even on IMDb, it's titled action first, comedy second, horror last. Like that is how it is done in the genres. So there, I do think this is exactly, if you're looking for like a ridiculous kind of cheeky, campy slasher horror film, where there's a lot of really good cuts to Nic Cage, like brooding in his ridiculous way. Yeah. And then they fight, these robot puppets. Like, I mean, it's exactly what you think it is.
He's beating down demon-possessed animatronics to a country version of head, shoulders, knees, and toes at one point. Yes. Like that, you can't beat that for an image. It's just, you're just like, oh my God, this has gone there. But it's a little, again, I feel like it seems like Nic Cage is making a career out of choosing films that elevate other filmmakers. So he's using his star status to elevate productions that otherwise might not have got distribution. And I mean, I like this, because if he wasn't doing this, then both this and Jiu-Jitsu might never have been picked up by a distributor, and now we have them both.
So that's
for Nic Cage.
That's for Nic Cage. That's really the big question with all these Nic Cage films here is, where does business meet opportunity for this person? Because he's done very well in some very big picture movies, obviously, over the course of time. For the past 15 years, not so much. He sort of has become a caricature of himself. But to Dave's point, that's 100% true. There are, this is so funny when you see A-list actors, and it's like, well, they weren't being offered scripts. Yes, they were. They were being offered bad scripts by people who didn't have any money. So, but there are scripts out there that literally Nic Cage or somebody who's an A-list person can pick up and just make some calls and get $1 million or $2 million. Like that is what being an even an A- actor can do.
It's funny, like even in this, when he stepped in and was obviously the only A-lister in it, he, how like you hear reports of people disappear into their trailers and stuff like that. Apparently he was beside the camera for almost all of this, watching what was going on, taking it in, offering suggestions here and there. Like, he was very present.
Yeah, because honestly, who was I talking about jiu-jitsu? Dave, were you and I talking about it on this episode?
On this show, yeah. And I hated it.
I really hated it too.
Yeah.
But I think Matt and Mark movie podcast, I think we're about to be on their show. I think they really had a good time with that one. So yeah, let's bring up Willy's Wonderland when we talk about it later tonight.
We'll send them Willy's their way.
But just like jiu-jitsu and just like all of these movies, if anyone has done a deep dive
as I can.
You get them in, dude. If anyone has done a deep dive into these kind of ridiculous, like way back there on Netflix, Nic Cage movies, to his credit, he is always aware of the movie he's in.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing, and you can usually see the talent. It's not just the awareness, but like, I mean, he's funny. There were so many wonderful cuts to him and just moments. And don't forget, folks, A Quiet Drifter, they mean that literally. He's mute. He doesn't say a word.
There was originally one line in the screenplay, and they cut it.
I'm glad they took it out, dude. Yeah, it was not necessary.
It was terrible. It was "Come at me, bro." And
he communicated so much.
That's he communicated
so much.
Yeah, that was the line. Yeah. They agreed to cut it. Yeah.
I'm just saying, this is another one of those things where like he is surrounded by. Oh yeah, quick shout out to. I wanted to get this in there so I didn't mess that up. What is Phoebe's friend? The homeless woman, the sheriff in this movie.
Beth Grant.
Yeah. I know her as Lizzie, the homeless woman from like the first season of Friends. I haven't seen her in so long.
She's in No Country for Old Men, Little Miss Sunshine.
I know
she's in No Country for Old Men.
I know she's in stuff, but like this was a good example of we just said all those things about this movie, the cheesy stuff. This is a good lesson though for the ingredients that make these kinds of movies good. Nick played it as seriously and as aware as he could. And I think she did too. So you had the kind of negative foil and our hero, our brooding silent hero, who just to play this game with these kinds of movies, I always bring this up. Imagine if you had casted is not a word. Imagine if you had cast bad actors, with I think this is estimated at a $5.5 million budget. I'm not saying all that money went to these two actors. I'm just saying they know that there are some people who actually do need to be good to make bad, cheeky horror movies good.
Yeah.
You can't just hire really bad actors and hope that people are going to like it enough.
It's important. For the intense horror crowd, there is no such thing as a bad horror movie. Almost. Like, they will forgive a lot. And this definitely rises above a lot of some of the things we've seen. I mean, it's on a par with Neon Maniacs.
What did you, Dave? I feel like don't hold back, bro. I want to buzz the shit out of you. I think you disliked this movie. Go for it. I
didn't dislike this movie. I just found some flaws with it. Like, some of it is cinematography flaws. I hated the color. The color.
You texted us about that.
Yeah, the color in this was crunchy. It was crunchy as shit. They went too far.
Yeah.
They probably. You know what, Dave? I'm gonna guess. I know that your rate is pretty good right now for all of our listeners. I'm gonna guess they didn't pay a lot for coloring.
I'm guessing they got someone who had the free DaVinci Resolve and said I was a colorist. But I don't know.
Yeah, I was going for it too.
Probably not that. Probably didn't stoop that low. But,
but what else? What else?
But the thing is, like, they shot this on an Arri, so like I know it's capable of better image quality than what some of those scenes we got. Also,
do you think that was on purpose?
I think they tried to stylize it, but I think they just went a little too far. Like it is a common thing with like filmmakers up and coming. They try to go crunchy, and they just end up compressing the hell out of the image, and you lose all those fine definitions that you really want in this.
Actually, I'm looking at screen grabs, and you're right. There could have been no focal point.
So much more. Also, yeah, as far as the lenses on the camera, like there were times when they're in quite a small space, and they had this massive lens curvature, and they didn't correct for it. So
thank you for bringing that up. Anyone
that walks to the edge of the film, like the edge of the frame, suddenly turns into Slender Man.
Wow.
I was curious, but again, I think it fell into the.
I'm not gonna buzz that because that's pretty smart.
The stylized thing, I am curious. I was just curious. I didn't really have much of an issue with that. I just couldn't quite understand why it was there. I wasn't sure if I understood the point of that.
I don't know. It might have been intentional. If it was intentional, it didn't work.
All right.
Yeah, I think
that's the most Dave's been buzzed in a segment.
Nic Cage does. This is like classic acting exercise stuff. Yeah. Like he has this dilemma, he has these obstacles where he has to, every now and then he gets attacked by a killer animatronic robot, and he has to destroy it.
You don't hear often.
But throughout the night, he has been hired to clean up this entire place. So the structure of the movie keeps going back and forth between him cleaning, taking a break, drinking his favorite pop, punch or whatever.
Okay, we're gonna come back to that in a second.
and killing robots. So there is a good little fun aspect to this, that he actually does do what he was hired to do.
Yes.
And then it doesn't just slip into that, which is another reason why the ridiculousness is there. Because in a lot of movies, like, more sincere horror movies like Descent and everything, they get sidetracked and it becomes about escaping the killers. He doesn't try to escape at all. There's a funny line in here.
Let's throw out
they're not trapped in here.
Yeah.
They're not, he's not trapped in here with them. They're trapped in here with him.
Which is a rip-off of a line from another movie, but I can't remember I can't remember what film it is, but I've heard that before.
Sure. Yeah,
but anyway, I'm going to bring you back to that, because that is one of the biggest criticisms this film got when it was released. And people started watching it.
Metacritic 14.
No, I'm talking I went into the comments for this one because I'm like, I got to see what people are saying. And it's the funny thing is, everyone had no problem at all with any of this. They were on board, except for the fact that, and we're gonna, I'll throw out the spoiler alert now because we're gonna spoil some stuff here, but they don't explain ever why he is different from anyone else that was put in this thing, because basically the premise comes out that they have a group of serial killers who have possessed these things and they're now feeding them to keep the town alive.
Great montage. Pause. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
Great montage, especially when you get to the first animatronic who is a serial killer that is in the animatronic body that just bites like a kid. It's a child, and it's not even realistic. It's like taking a stuffed animal on an arm, like you would do with like your 1-year-old nephew, except blood flies out of it. It's
the worst part is, I wanted Nicolas Cage to be that kid. But you never find out who he is. You don't find out why he's so special, why he's the one that's able to beat them and finish his job, why he's drinking them, why he's playing that pinball machine, why that alarm keeps going off. They don't answer any questions. They just finish the movie and drive off into the sunset.
Well, the worst thing they do, though, is they introduce the fact that he's a wanted man by showing a poster of somebody with his picture on it. That's the worst thing they did, because you have to follow through on that. You have to follow through.
I think I missed that. Was he on a wanted picture?
I missed that too.
Wait, you serious? He rips it off the wall. When he's at the guy, when he's, you know what? It might.
No. He's referring to a different. It's when he sees the missing persons. It's when he's at the Nick Cage is at the mechanics.
I thought one was him.
No, and he looks and he realizes, well, this county has a lot of missing persons. That's how I interpreted that.
But he ripped them off the wall?
Yeah, that he just. I don't remember him ripping himself off the wall.
Yeah, anyway, maybe it was. Anyway. I don't know. I missed that bit.
I was pretty stoned watching this one. So I'm not, one of my co-hosts recommended that I get nice and ripped before watching this one.
Yeah. That was not me. I watched it less than 12 hours after finishing a 13-hour drive, and so I might have been high on my own supply.
But you know what?
I'm a little loopy on this one.
In defense of the filmmakers, just play devil's advocate here, I'm going to push back a little bit on you guys. Do you think that they had a little more exposition about this guy and then Nic Cage signed on and they were like, done? We don't need, because it's Nic Cage. And he has this weird like Chuck Norris thing about him, right? Like the Chuck Norris jokes.
Yeah.
You kind of don't need to explain shit about who Nic Cage is anymore. Like, of course he's that weird fucking new director guy.
Dude, I want to sit at a bar and have lunch with Nic Cage. Just
who does it?
Be great, man. Yeah,
like I want to talk to this guy, because it would be the most amazing experience. I would imagine. Let's get him on the show. Nic Cage, call us.
I read somewhere on probably like IMDb trivia, like nowhere particularly special, that Nicolas Cage was especially protective of the script because he bought it off of this blood list, so he wanted to protect the script, like it was ready. Part of me thought, though, that maybe that they wanted to change it once they got Nic Cage, and they're like, "Oh shit, we got Nic Cage. Okay, what can we do now that we got Nic Cage?" And he went, "No. I don't want to memorize any lines. I'll just do the script as me, and it'll just make it better. Like, as opposed to being like playing into Nic Cage. You know what I mean?" So that's my guess. And now I don't know. It's a chicken or the egg. Was it Nic Cage or was it the script? At this point, it's like, if I was Nic Cage, I'd be like, I want to do this movie and don't change it for me.
The director did have the script before Nic Cage saw it.
Years, apparently at least 5 years.
Yeah. And then they managed to get it to Nic Cage's agent, and he straight away went, "Yeah, I'm on board."
Nic Cage's agent reads everything. All right,
yeah.
So he must have here. I'm sorry, I keep saying he.
I
assume it's he because I saw Entourage. He or she, or they watch. They have staff writers that literally they're like, "Shit, we have Nic Cage on staff. You have to read everything." You never know. John's going to film school this year. You know what? One of Nic Cage's interns is going to read one of your scripts. That's a fucking promise.
I would be honored, Nic Cage's intern, if you would give it a go. I think. Can't you see it though?
We'll have Nic Cage's intern on the show. What the hell?
I would love it.
Let's talk a little bit less about Nic Cage for a second, though, because here's where the movie kicks into gear, though. Is so Nic Cage, he goes to this place and he actually tries to clean it, even though, as you were suggesting, we don't know if Nic Cage's character has any idea what's going on, if he assumes that something as bad is going to happen to him. We don't know what's happening. But then we have these very attractive people from the town who are dressed really well. And they're going to do the usual things. Two of the characters do it, which I wouldn't necessarily gloat about. But at the same time, it's the rules. And this kind of movie, it's like sometimes if you're on Friday night with your friends, it's good to know that that's going to happen. No, there's no nudity. Respect your actors. Nope. But that kind of stuff's going to happen. No, you got to. I did actually ask myself, is there an intimacy counselor on set? Because they're doing punch-ins of boobs, but not exposed. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's part of the rules of this thing. But then the Nic Cage storyline kind of goes off to the side, which is probably, Dave, how they get away with not answering a lot of these questions, is because just when you start having questions, then 5-6 new kids come in, and then one dies, and then all of a sudden two die, and then
Emily Tosto, who plays the main girl who works opposite Cage, she has a really good backstory in how she gets to the town and why she knows what's going on. Her introduction is one of the funniest things I've seen in a fucking horror film. She's literally trying to burn this thing to the ground. She's poured petrol on it. She's trying to burn it, and she's flicking the lighter, and you just hear the whir, the blast of the police siren. She's like, "Fuck me," and it's I'm like, that's the best character introduction I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. That was and the way they did the punch-ins was very I wrote down, this is my Steinbeck joke, John. I wrote down the way that they did these punch-ins so heavy-handedly. In some cases, they do the Ferris Bueller where they punch into the face, and then the Georges Seurat Sunday in the Park, and then it's a little bit closer on the return, and then a little bit closer. But they're doing it with like a mural on the side of the wall of Willy's Wonderland. So it's I was like, it's very heavy-handed. You can tell that this person who wrote the script just really likes movies. You could tell he didn't major in English, and he is not going to get the keys to the East of Eden relook.
That's your, that was good, Jeff. You buzzing for that?
Yeah.
Look, man, the only thing that confused me.
The only thing?
Yeah, I mean this literally. Everything made sense to me up until. Did you guys think it was weird that she leaves with him? That they she's a 15-year-old, right? And she's supposed to be in high school.
Yeah, fair.
I thought it was a little weird because she was an actress who was, the actress presents as of age.
I thought it was weird, and then I went to Virginia and spent some time with my nieces, one of them who is hooked on an influencer who lives in California, owns her own house, is 13, and her 26-year-old editor lives with her.
She lives in her own house at 13. You mean those parents are taking that money? I'm saying.
No, the parents live somewhere else, but the 26-year-old editor lives in the house with her, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is what we do now. Is that the new normal? Or
Dave, that is not the new normal, and I don't think anybody listening to this podcast, they assume there's some kind of contract written out. But to your question, both of you, I guess, is if she was, I would get, because her mom is probably, or the person who's her guardian is probably no longer going to be protecting her, because that's a storyline they decided to throw into this movie.
Fair. Yeah.
So this person's supposed to be in high school without a parent, and Nicolas Cage, despite the fact that we don't know anything about him other than he knows how to kill a stuffed animal, this girl needs a parent because they're not 18. But the problem is they present as 18, and so unfortunately for both the actress and Nic Cage, in my book, when they look at you and be like, I need a father figure, it could read it two different ways.
I mean,
so
yeah,
it was a little on
for me.
the cusp.
For me, it was I need a parental figure. Because the woman I thought was my parental figure actually had my parents killed. So I have no place to go right now at all. Can I come with you? Because I don't know where you're going, but it's better than this.
I'm all about show, don't tell, but I wish they gave me something. Be like, I have nowhere to go.
I mean,
all I need is her to say.
I was good with that.
John, did you fill in what blanks did you fill in with your mind that was influenced by other things?
Buzz you preemptively?
I just thought that was a little weird because I thought that this is very deep, but I interpreted her like already like she was the leader of this group of younger people in town who clearly had all been attacked in some way or had some kind of bad experience there or knew someone who did. So like the kids, you know, I realize you're saying they're older teenagers. They were trying to kind of take care of it themselves. They were trying to burn down Willy's Wonderland. So when she achieves that, basically at the end, all the others get killed. But when she achieves that, I kind of interpreted that as like, there goes her last shred of innocence. She has destroyed the thing that destroyed her childhood. And now she's like, kind of a grown-up in her own way. It just seems like a little
now she's running off with the guy from Wild at Heart, but 30 years later.
But 30 years later, it just felt a little strange. I guess that there's a tiny little clip in the very last part of this
Jeff
movie.
Made it creepy.
It was a little creepy.
How have you not been creeped out in the past 5 minutes of us talking about the fact that this is a 22-year-old actress who's pretending to be 15 and looks at Nicolas Cage and be like, I will be your father figure. Put your love in hands.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. But it didn't, again, I don't think that took anything away from...
I can't buzz Jeff for singing on the podcast.
Thank you for singing George Michael. Okay. Well, there's a lot of other things to talk about. But
there's a lot of good things. Like,
let's talk about the fun.
The funny thing is, this movie doesn't suck. No, like I had some issues with the color, I had some issues with the cinematography. I didn't not have fun watching this, and I wish I was like, realistically, I watched this by myself. I wish I was with a group of 5 or 6 friends where we could sit there and go, oh, when like, you know, shit happens. Yeah. Like that's how this movie's meant to be received.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I and I've made this point before on this podcast. I do not like movies like this. I don't seek out what I could consider like campy, cheap horror slasher movies. It's just not. I appreciate that that group of fans loves these movies. I don't care for them, but this was a fun one. That being said, I agree with Dave completely. I did laugh by myself. You know, I was enjoying myself and laughing. I think I may have like texted you guys at once while I was watching it, but I know this is probably going to be more fun to watch with some people. So
yeah,
you know, in the spirit of
now that we can. Get your groups together and sit down and watch this.
Get your groups. The first one, the flamingo is the first one to come alive, and I wrote that like maybe they could have introduced it a little better, but then immediately you have Nicolas Cage punching a flamingo in the face. So like I think that's pretty funny.
It's a fucking ostrich.
Is it? I thought the first one was a flamingo too.
I'm pretty sure it was an ostrich.
And I thought he was an ostrich.
It's called Ozzy.
One is.
Yeah, but they said he was a rat, even though he was 6 feet tall and had a thin neck. Ugh. Anyway,
he's a rat. Oh, he was supposed to be a rat.
They said he was a rat. Yeah.
Let's spoil this real fast.
The alligator was awesome.
We can't even spoil it because...
No, let's spoil this really quickly. This is hilarious. This is enough of a reason to watch this movie. The reason that these robots kill people is because this was a legitimate animatronics like kids' birthday place. And I used to go to one of those. There was like an off-brand Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
But did we say how they actually... turn into the killer robots? Did we clarify that specifically?
I briefly mentioned it earlier, but go for it.
So a guy who worked there, who apparently was a serial killer, killed children.
Yeah.
He was the town got onto him that kids starting disappearing and stuff. So when the authorities finally get onto him and they break in the party room or the fun time room or whatever, him and his followers commit suicide in some satanic ritual, and their souls get transferred into the animatronic robots. So these are animatronic robots with serial killer souls inside them. Like,
I'm going to look past the fact that that's not how that's not what satanic rituals do. But let's just go past
all of it.
that.
That's what I'm saying. All of it. Just everything right there. Like that. How does that not make you smile?
It is.
It's just. It just sounds ridiculous. Yeah. Jeff, what else? You had something written down. You said you had a couple more things. Let's give me something specific. Let's talk about something.
There's a gorilla fight in the bathroom, which is pretty good. Within the bathroom with the light coming out, and then they go stall to stall to stall, and they can't find the gorilla, and then the gorilla comes in, and
the gorilla swings down from above because I mean, for God's sake, look up, people.
There's I wanted to know this. How much is it to have Freebird in your movie?
Oh
yeah! Wow, yeah. I thought the same thing when that came out. I was like, "Whoa, that's the most expensive thing in this movie."
Who did Nicolas Cage go to it?
Okay, I was going to say, it depends who's on the other end of the phone.
Whose child's birthday party did he show up to get free bird in this movie?
Seriously. And honestly, that kind of distracted me a little bit just because there was no other music like that. I just thought it was a little bit like, why are you using this super famous song that like now I'm aware?
I mean, I know not everybody thinks about the cost of the soundtrack, but anybody who likes movies knows that Freebird's expensive.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I worked on a film once that had, I think it was 80 songs in it, and the distribution budget for that was over $1 million.
Wow.
Oh. Yeah. I don't know.
So, yeah.
Anyway, Willy's fucking Wonderland, you guys. Nic Cage does it again. He pumps like one of these out a year. And I know what you mean, Jeff. Like, you want to talk about the movie? Yeah, let's stop talking about Nic Cage, but like, you can't. Like, and I think the directors, the filmmakers, the actors who are in there with them, when they make a movie at this level and Nic Cage is in it, they know that people are going to come up to them and say, "You were in that Nic Cage movie, right?"
Yeah.
Well, like that's the thing. Like, a lot of these guys at first were probably like, "Hey, we've got the role in this film. It's going to be a cool horror film." Wait, they've got Nic Cage. Fuck.
Now it's the Nic Cage. Now it's
not only is, first of all, he's an Oscar winner.
Break anymore.
He's an Oscar winner, and he's
deservedly too.
He is a good actor. We've all seen movies where he really fucking brought it. And you know what? I feel like when he's on set, there's something that happens. There's a difference between the A-lister who like is an A-lister and then an A-lister who like wants to be a legacy. I feel like Nic Cage really does want to be a legacy. So I think it was you, Dave, that said he's behind camera a lot. Yeah. I think he really does want everybody on set to not only feel like making movies is good because he knows how hard it is. He knows that like he shows up in set and like the worst case scenario makes $1 million.
He's one of those persons that like people that is like a help on set.
I bet you, or if anything else,
to your production, if you get it.
You know that every person on the set is going to tell their friends that they worked with Nicolas Cage, and they're going to ask, what was it like to work with Nicolas Cage? And you can either answer, it was kind of shitty, or I didn't see him, or you could sit there and say, you know what, this guy knows everything about movies, and I just feel like he likes movies. And I mean, he was on set, and he had a good time hanging out with us.
Also, he said draw. I watched Jiu-Jitsu because Nic Cage was in it.
Right.
So,
you know,
there was the first time I mean, he knows what he's doing, guys. There is a shot at the beginning of this because they kind of don't quite show you his whole face. They're kind of revealing body parts after his car, like the tires get busted and he gets out and he's looking at it. And then a truck starts coming down the road and Nic Cage turns and looks up in a close up.
Wait. And before that happens, they stand there in the horizon, like his shadow goes from one side to the other. I'm like, did he just stand there like the fucking Terminator
for the entire time
for 6 hours?
Yes, he did. Like, he did do that. But that close up, dude, when he just looks right past the cannon and they're just coming in and pushing in, he knows exactly what movie he's in. I laughed out loud every time they would cut to his close ups, and he was just doing something stupid and ridiculous, but it was smart. It was such an awareness.
I love that this went this way because, like, I was expecting some heavy heat for suggesting this movie, but
look, you kind of mentioned it with Neon Maniacs. Anyone who doesn't remember, we did talk about that on the Halloween episode. I think I was frustrated watching Neon Maniacs. That one didn't work for me. This one was not frustrating to me. No. It was just so silly. I don't know. I think I enjoyed the silliness. Maybe Neon.
I think intention comes through. Neon Maniacs really wanted to be a great horror movie. This knew exactly what it was, and you see that when you watch it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And not to mention, did anybody else go to one of those? I know I said it, but did you guys go to one of those cheap animatronics places when you were kids?
Chuck E. Cheese one.
Not just Chuck E. Cheese, like the weird ones, like the ones that are like local.
DC
fucking terrifying, dude. They're always
we have a couple of them in Australia too. Yeah.
Not cool, so I totally get it.
I want to go to the Australian ones. I'm sorry, I really want to see those animatronics that are. There's one that just like does 2 moves over and over again or something.
Yeah, you go to the Wolf Creek animatronic show.
You guys, we should have gotten some punch soda for this episode.
Yes,
drank it throughout,
and turned into animatronics. All right,
oh God, we would never sleep.
We all had a busy week, so we gave a bunch of suggestions during our Space Jam episode, but thank you all for sticking with us. It is now our time to share what we've been watching or any suggestions, since I didn't watch anything besides these 2 movies this week. Dave?
No, I pretty much, the only thing I did start watching, have you guys caught the animated Harley Quinn
No.
I haven't actually seen it,
on
but I saw
HBO
that
Max.
it was, right.
I started watching this because I'd never it's got like basically a lot of people may not know who it is, but so Penny from Big Bang Theory is doing Harley Quinn. One of the guys from the scientist from iZombie is doing Scarecrow. It is the most brutal fucking cartoon I've ever seen in my life. They're dropping F-bombs left, right, and center. It's hilarious.
Nice. Is it a show?
It's an animated show. They're 2 seasons in. They're about to get a third. It's well worth a look. I'm like 5 episodes in. I can't stop watching the damn thing.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
Animated Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
I've got nothing, you guys. Jeff and I.
I'm gonna give one. I started watching Blind Spotting, which I can't quite. Have you watched it, Dave?
Is that hang on? Blind Spotting is the show.
It just came out. Well, it was based on the movie.
Tattoos? No, the Blind
They're in
Spotting?
San Francisco. The friend is going to jail, or he just and then
I have no idea.
And it's the criminal justice system from like a white versus black perspective from Oakland.
Oh,
and
no, I thought it was
co-wrote
something
with
else.
his friend. And I think Helen Hunt is in it, but I haven't gotten to her being in it yet. It's very stylized, almost like strangely choreographed. But I am on TikTok because I teach younger people, and also they know I only like golf and cat videos, so I'm on TikTok, and I can see the stylization working. I'm not quite there yet, but I can see it maybe working. So
I was
check
on
back
TikTok
in.
for 30 seconds.
Are you saying a shot like a TikTok video?
Well, I'm just saying it's choreographed and stylized in a way that popular videos you can tell have polish. You can tell people like worked hard for this minute. It's not just like it's either real life, like somebody fell off a mountain and everybody's watching it like, oh, that sucks, or it's like somebody spent way too much time for this 30-second dance. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's too choreographed for me right now, but I'm wondering if I get used to the format, I'll appreciate it more. Because we've had a realism phase that I feel like is starting to find its way out the door, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Anyway, Blind Spotting. I'll check back in. Maybe I'll watch more episodes next week.
All right.
That's it for me. We're going to be on the Matt and Mark movie show talking about Space Jam. We have our own Space Jam episode that we just released, so you can go into your feed and
Hopefully
find
you've heard that already.
Hopefully you've heard that already. People, come on, subscribe. Listen to us as we come out. Let's do it, people.
Yes.
That's it. We'll talk to you soon. Next week, we're doing M. Night Shyamalan. I know all of you have been asking for more M. Night Shyamalan from us.
This is the twist.
We're going to do Olds. Because Old is coming out. If you haven't seen the trailer, go to the movies.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the trailer, it's probably because you're too busy watching Snake Eyes trailers. Because fuck those marketing guys. Holy hell. Like, we're up to trailer 8. They released another trailer today. I'm fucking pissed about this. Like, stop bombarding me. I've seen the whole fucking movie.
They got work to make their money back now after paying all the trailer makers. Okay. We're watching Old, and then for should have seen that by now, we're gonna do The Village, people. The Village, which is right when M. Night Shyamalan people were like, is he good, is he not? We're gonna take another look at The Village. Let's go. Final thoughts, Dave, John, anything to say before we head out?
No, I think you should get a little drunk and watch Willy's Wonderland. Enjoy yourself.
HBO, Hulu.
Hulu.
Check in next week, film fans. See you soon.